What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Patrick here. Moving on to the next question. We have to determine the relationship between constants a and b. So notice a and b are here in this piecewise function in order for that piecewise function f of x to be continuous for all x values. So notice we have a minus x squared when x is less than or equal to -1, and then we have x minus b when x is greater than -1. Now notice that both of these functions, no matter what constants we have, so if we have a constant minus x squared, and then we have x minus some kind of constant, for x values less than or equal to -1, notice that this here is always going to be continuous, no matter what this constant is. Right? Because it's basically going to be a quadratic, right? We're going to have a constant minus x squared, which is going to be a parabola that opens down. Then over here we have x minus a constant. So this here is going to be a line, and that's always going to be continuous as well, right? So no matter what constants we use, just want to make a heads up that this function is always going to be continuous for x values less than or equal to -1. This function is always going to be continuous for x values greater than -1. So really all we have to make sure is that the function is continuous at an x value of -1. And basically, f of x will be continuous at x equals -1 when these two functions have the same y value at that x value -1. So we could say when a minus -1 to the power 2, right? The y value of this function at an x value -1 is equal to the y value of this function, we'll have -1 minus b. Like that, if we plug in -1 for x. Right? So if both of those y values are equal, then the function's just continuous for all x values. So if we simplify this, we'll have a minus -1 to the power 2 is 1. And then over here, we'll have -1 minus b. And then notice that the -1s would cancel out. If we bring this -1 over, the -1s would net out to 0. If we bring this one over, it'll net out to 0. We would end up just having a equaling -b. And that's the relationship between a and b in order for this function to be continuous. So we could pick any constant. So if we let a, let's say, equal 5, well, then that means b has to be -5. And if a is equal to 5, b is equal to -5 in this piecewise function, then it's going to be continuous. Or if we let a equal, let's say, -11, then b would be the opposite sign, right? -11, which would be +11. So that combination will work as well. So there's an infinite amount of combinations that can work in order for this piecewise function to be continuous. The only thing you got to make sure is that a is always equal to